It was just a regular Wednesday afternoon. I was settling into my worn-out desk chair, coffee in hand, when my phone buzzed. The number was unfamiliar, but something in my gut tightened. "Hello, is this Hannah Foster?" The voice on the other end was formal, almost detached. "Yes, speaking," I replied cautiously. "This is Michael from Meadow Bank. We're calling regarding your overdue mortgage balance of $537,000. We've sent several notices, but..." My mind froze. Mortgage? $500,000? I didn't own a house. My voice wavered. There must be some mistake. I don't have a mortgage. I don't even own a car that's newer than 2010. "Ma'am, we have documents with your name, date of birth, and social security number. You are listed as the primary borrower on a loan taken out 3 years ago." 3 years ago. That was around the time Lily, my younger sister, had been daydreaming about moving into a bigger place. My stomach twisted. I remembered her showing Pinterest boards full of spacious kitchens and cozy fireplaces. Could it be? The call ended with me promising to look into it. I sat at my cluttered desk trying to ground myself, but my thoughts wouldn't stop spinning. I fumbled through old documents, bills, anything that might explain how my name ended up on a mortgage. But deep down, the truth was already sinking in. I just didn't want to believe it. My phone buzzed again, a text from Mom. "Hey sweetie, don't forget dinner on Sunday, love you." Dinner. Like nothing was wrong. Like I wasn't drowning in debt I didn't even know existed. The bitter taste of betrayal crept in, but I pushed it down. I couldn't jump to conclusions, not yet. I needed proof. I couldn't sit still. I dug through my drawers, searching for anything related to my financial history. Finally, I found a folder labeled Important Papers. Inside were my birth certificate, old tax returns, and a copy of my credit report from a year ago. Nothing out of the ordinary. I needed more. Desperation creeping in. I pulled up my laptop and searched mortgage fraud family. Article after article popped up. Identity theft, forged signatures, stolen social security numbers. I skimmed through the stories, each one gnawing at my sanity. Could Lily really have done this? Flashbacks played in my mind. Mom doting on Lily at every family gathering. Dad always covering for her mistakes. Lily getting out of every scrape without consequences. I'd always been the dependable one, the problem solver. But this was beyond anything I'd imagined. I decided to call the bank back, demanding copies of the mortgage documents. A woman named Karen handled my request and emailed the files within minutes. My heart pounded as I clicked on the PDF. There it was, page after page of legal jargon, interest rates, loan terms. But then I saw it, my signature. Except it wasn't mine. It looked close enough to fool a stranger, but I knew my own handwriting, the way I loop my H's, the little flick at the end of my last name. This was too perfect, too practiced. I stared at it numb. Someone had signed my name on a $500,000 mortgage. I thought about the last few family dinners, Lily bragging about her new place, Mom beaming with pride. Had they known? Had they been in on it? My hands trembled as I read through the loan agreement, every line cementing the betrayal. I wasn't just the reliable older sister anymore. I was their safety net, their backup plan. Exhaustion settled over me like a heavy quilt. I closed my laptop and pressed my palms against my eyes. I wasn't ready to confront them yet. I needed to think, to plan. I couldn't just accuse them without evidence. I needed to know the full story before I did anything rash. The phone buzzed again, another message from Mom. "Looking forward to Sunday, can't wait to see you." I typed back, "Sure, see you then," and hit send. My mind was already mapping out my next steps. I wouldn't let them blindside me. If this was a betrayal, I'd make sure the truth came out, no matter how much it hurt. As night fell, I sat alone, feeling the weight of the silence. My apartment, once my sanctuary, felt more like a trap. They had taken my name, my credit, my future without even asking. But one thing was clear, I wouldn't be the quiet, obedient daughter this time. I'd find out the truth, and when I did, they'd see just how wrong they were to underestimate me. The days crawled by, each one stretching my patience thinner. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat without the bitter taste of betrayal settling on my tongue. I kept my movements quiet, careful not to tip anyone off before I had all the pieces. Saturday night, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop again. I needed a plan. I needed proof, not just suspicions and late-night paranoia. I pulled up my bank account, scrolled through my credit card statements, and cross-checked every purchase. It didn't take long for the cracks to appear. 3 years ago, my credit score had dipped unexpectedly. I'd brushed it off as a mistake, a technical glitch. Now that same period lined up with the mortgage paperwork. I dug deeper, finding small irregular withdrawals, $50 here, $100. They're always timed right before Lily's big life updates. Her surprise engagement party, the move-in bash, the endless Instagram posts showing off her newly renovated kitchen. I searched for her husband Derek on Facebook. His profile was public, every detail carefully curated. Photos of them on vacation clinking glasses at a fancy resort, standing in front of their house with the caption, "Finally found our forever home." My jaw tightened. My forever home, apparently. I couldn't sit still anymore. I grabbed my keys, threw on a jacket, and drove to my parents' house. The drive felt surreal, the streetlights blurring into long stretching lines as my mind replayed every family gathering, every offhand comment I had brushed off over the years. When I pulled up to their house, I paused. It was late and their windows were dark. I thought about just walking in, confronting them on the spot, but something held me back. I needed more than an emotional outburst. I needed facts, a strategy. Instead, I snuck around to the side where my parents kept their trash bins. I grimaced, feeling like a burglar in my own family's yard. I flipped open the nearest lid and sifted through junk mail, torn envelopes, and pizza coupons until I found what I was looking for, a shredded credit card statement barely legible through the crisscrossed slashes. I stuffed the pieces into my bag, my hands shaking. Back home, I dumped the shredded paper onto my kitchen counter and spent the next 2 hours piecing it together. It felt like trying to solve a puzzle with pieces missing, but eventually the fragments started to form a picture. Derek's name appeared next to a series of large transfers, thousands of dollars flowing from my account into his. Another page had Lily's email address listed as the recipient of a mortgage payment confirmation. I leaned back, staring at the taped-together scraps. It was all right there in black and white. The betrayal cut deeper now. This wasn't just a misunderstanding or a technical error. This was planned, calculated, and hidden behind years of smiles and holiday dinners. I felt the cold burn of anger seep into my bones. I needed to calm down to clear my head before I did something impulsive. I picked up my phone and called my best friend Mia. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, you okay? You never call this late," she said, concern coloring her tone. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "Mia, I need you to help me with something. I think my sister and her husband committed mortgage fraud in my name." The line went silent for a moment, then she let out a low whistle. "Damn, Hannah, that's huge. Are you sure?" "Almost," I replied, glancing down at the chaotic mess of paper on my counter. "I just need a little more proof before I confront them. I can't risk them spinning this against me." "All right," she said, her voice shifting into the calm, focused tone she used at work. "First thing tomorrow, come over. We'll go through everything together." I hung up, feeling a small wave of relief. At least I wasn't alone in this. The next morning, I arrived at Mia's apartment, clutching my folder like a lifeline. She had already cleared her kitchen table, 2 steaming mugs of coffee waiting for us. I spread out the papers, explaining everything I'd found. She listened without interrupting, her sharp eyes scanning the documents as I laid out the timeline. When I finished, she leaned back, arms crossed. "Okay, this is bad, but it's not bulletproof. You need more emails, texts, anything that directly links them to this without a shadow of a doubt." I nodded, feeling the adrenaline spark again. She was right. This wasn't just about confronting them. I needed to protect myself legally, to make sure they couldn't twist this into some bizarre misunderstanding where I ended up the villain. We spent hours combing through my accounts, cross-referencing every charge, every suspicious withdrawal. We even pulled up Lily's old wedding registry and matched the dates to my credit card charges. It all lined up, a chilling timeline of theft and deceit. Finally, Mia looked up at me, her eyes sharp. "Hannah, this is solid. You've got enough here to take to a lawyer, maybe even the police." I sank back into my chair, the weight of her words settling over me like a cold, wet blanket. I had always thought of myself as strong, independent, but this felt different. It felt like standing on a cliff's edge, knowing one wrong step could send me spiraling down. "Okay," I whispered, more to myself than to her. "I'm doing this." Mia reached over and squeezed my hand. "You're doing the right thing, and whatever happens, you're not alone." As I left her apartment, the morning sun cutting through the winter air, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I was done being the reliable, forgettable sister. I was done letting them steal my future while smiling in my face. This Sunday, I wouldn't just be showing up for dinner, I'd be showing up for war. Sunday came too quickly. I spent the morning pacing my tiny apartment, my mind torn between dread and determination. I replayed every possible scenario, every word I might say, every defense they might offer. But in the end, I settled on one approach: quiet observation. When I finally pulled into my parents' driveway, I paused, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The house looked the same as always. Neat lawn wind chimes swaying in the breeze, the faint sound of a football game coming from the living room. But it felt different now, like I was stepping into enemy territory. I took a deep breath and forced a smile as my mom opened the door. "Hannah, so glad you could make it, sweetie," she said, pulling me into a tight hug. Her perfume, the same lavender scent she'd worn for years, felt suffocating. Inside, the familiar sounds of clinking dishes and idle chatter filled the air. My dad was in his usual spot, reclined in his old chair, a beer in one hand, eyes glued to the TV. Lily and Derek were already there, seated side by side on the couch, their fingers intertwined, matching smiles plastered on their faces. "Hey sis," Lily chirped, waving me over. "Come sit, we were just talking about our trip to Costa Rica. You have to come with us next time." I forced a tight-lipped smile and sank into the chair across from them. "Sounds amazing. I didn't know you guys were taking so many trips these days." Lily's eyes flickered just for a second, but she recovered quickly. "Oh, you know us, just living our best lives." I let her chatter on about the beaches, the zip-lining, the luxurious spa days, every word sharpening the knife already wedged in my back. I noticed Derek's watch, shiny new, definitely out of his price range. The kind of luxury you buy when you're not worried about a budget. Dinner was served and I kept my head down, pushing food around my plate as the conversation flowed around me. Derek bragged about his new promotion. Lily laughed about their dog's latest misadventures. My parents beamed at them like proud parents watching their golden children thrive. But I stayed quiet, my mind racing. I needed a clear moment, a crack in their perfect facade. Finally, after the dishes were cleared and my dad settled back into his recliner, I seized my chance. I leaned back, cradling my glass of wine, and forced my tone into something resembling casual curiosity. "So, Lily," I began, swirling the dark liquid in my glass, "how's the house coming along? Settling in okay?" She glanced at Derek, a flicker of unease flashing across her face. "Oh, it's great. Just a few renovations left, but we're getting there." "Must be nice," I continued, my voice steady. "Owning a home in this economy. Must have been a lot of paperwork, though. Banks are so strict these days." Derek's grip on his glass tightened, the faintest twitch of his jaw betraying him. But Lily just shrugged, her smile a bit too bright. "Yeah, but we managed. It's all about good credit and saving smart, right?" I set my glass down, leaning forward slightly. "Yeah, about that. I actually got a strange call from a bank the other day. Something about a mortgage in my name. Thought it must be a mistake since you know I don't own a house." The room fell into a thick, suffocating silence. I watched their faces closely. Lily's eyes widened, her breath catching, while Derek's entire body seemed to go rigid. My parents exchanged confused glances, Mom's fork clinking against her plate as she slowly set it down. "That's weird," Lily said, her voice a shade too high. "Maybe it's just a mix-up. You should call them back, clear it up." "I did," I said, my voice sharper now, "and they sent me the documents. Funny thing though, the signature on the loan looks a lot like mine, but it isn't. I'd recognize my own handwriting anywhere." Derek's hand tightened around his glass and I watched a bead of sweat roll down his temple. "Good. Let him squirm." I let the silence stretch, watching their carefully constructed reality start to crack at the edges. Finally, I leaned back, crossing my arms. "You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you, Lily?" Derek. Lily's smile crumbled, her face paling as she looked at Derek for support. He met her gaze, his jaw clenched, but he said nothing. I felt a cold, quiet satisfaction bloom in my chest. "I'm not accusing anyone," I continued, my tone eerily calm. "But it's strange, don't you think? My name, my social security number, my credit, all tied to a $500,000 mortgage I never signed." My parents finally snapped out of their confused stupor. My mom's face twisted in disbelief, her eyes darting between me and Lily. "Lily, what is she talking about?" Lily opened her mouth, closed it, then stammered, I have no idea. This is insane. I would never." "Never what?" I cut in, my voice cold. "Never lie, never steal, because that's what this is. Fraud, identity theft." The room felt like it was shrinking, the air growing thicker by the second. My father leaned forward, his brows knitting together. "Lily, is there something you need to tell us?" I watched as her eyes filled with tears, her carefully polished exterior starting to crack. Derek remained stone-faced, but his grip on his glass looked like it might shatter it at any second. I pushed my chair back, the wooden legs scraping against the floor like a final resounding note. I had their attention now. I had pulled the rug out from under their perfect little world, and for once I felt a twisted sense of power. I grabbed my coat, slinging it over my shoulder. "Think about it, Lily. Think long and hard. I'll be expecting some answers soon." Without another word, I walked out, letting the door swing shut behind me, the echo reverberating through the quiet suburban street. As I reached my car, my pulse still racing, I realized something. I wasn't just angry, I wasn't just hurt. I was ready. Ready to take back what was mine. I spent the drive home replaying every second of that dinner, every flicker of panic in Lily's eyes, every tightening muscle in Derek's jaw. They were guilty, no doubt about it. But that wasn't enough. I needed them to admit it to feel the full weight of their betrayal. Back at my apartment, I fired up my laptop, the screen casting a cold glow against the darkened room. I pulled up every piece of evidence Mia and I had collected: bank statements, mortgage documents, payment receipts. My fingers flew over the keyboard as I compiled everything into a single airtight file. Next, I drafted a formal letter to the bank outlining the fraud, attaching the police report I had filed that morning, and demanding an immediate investigation. I felt a strange calm settle over me as I typed. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about reclaiming my life, my identity. I hit send and leaned back, exhaling slowly. One step down, but I wasn't done. I needed to make this personal. They hadn't just stolen my credit, they had stolen my trust, my sense of family. And that deserved a response they wouldn't soon forget. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to the county courthouse. The clerk behind the counter gave me a curious glance as I approached. "I need to file a formal dispute on a property title," I said, sliding my stack of documents across the counter. She raised an eyebrow but took the papers, flipping through them with a practiced eye. She paused, looking up at me. "This is serious. Are you sure you want to go through with this?" I met her gaze without flinching. "Absolutely." It took over an hour, but by the time I walked out, the wheels were in motion. The house Lily and Derek had so proudly flaunted on social media was now officially under investigation. I had effectively frozen their most valuable asset, trapping them in a financial limbo they had no idea was coming. As I drove home, the weight on my chest felt lighter. The cold air through the cracked window sharper, more alive. I felt like I was waking up after a long, suffocating dream. That afternoon, I dialed Mia's number. She picked up on the first ring. "Hey, you okay?" "Better than okay," I said, my voice steadier than it had been in weeks. "It's done. The bank, the title, all of it. I'm not just fighting back, I'm burning this whole mess down." Mia let out a low whistle. "Damn, Hannah, I'm proud of you." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. "Thanks. I just need one more thing from you." "Name it." "Help me dig up everything on them. I don't just want to win. I want them to feel this, to regret it." "You got it," she said without hesitation. "Send me what you've got and I'll start pulling court records, tax filings, anything that can help." I hung up, my pulse still racing. This was happening. I was taking my life back, one calculated move at a time. Over the next few days, I worked with a quiet, simmering focus, gathering every scrap of information I could find. Mia came through like a true friend, sending me links to public records, court filings, even property tax assessments. We found overdue utility bills in Lily's name, missed property tax payments, and a series of small claims court cases against Derek from his last failed business venture. It was all coming together, a perfect storm of financial recklessness and moral decay. Then finally, I found the smoking gun. An email from Derek to a real estate agent discussing their exit strategy if the market tanked. He casually mentioned my name, referring to me as their silent co-signer. My hands shook as I read the line over and over. Silent co-signer. They had planned this from the start, knowing full well they couldn't afford the house on their own. I saved the email, added it to my growing folder of evidence, and sat back, my mind racing with possibilities. I could go to the police, press charges, maybe even sue them. But I wanted something more personal, something they couldn't dodge or dismiss. That weekend, I invited my parents over to my apartment. I needed them to hear the truth from me, to see the damage their blind favoritism had caused. I needed them to understand that this wasn't just about money. They arrived late Sunday afternoon, my mom carrying a pie, my dad with his usual easy grin. They settled into my tiny living room, the atmosphere awkward and stilted. After a few minutes of small talk, I took a deep breath and set my coffee cup down. "I need to talk to you both about something serious." My mom's smile faded, her eyes narrowing slightly. My dad leaned forward, suddenly more alert. "What's going on, honey?" my mom asked, her voice tinged with worry. I met their eyes one at a time, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make them uncomfortable. "It's about Lily and Derek, and the house they bought." My dad frowned, leaning back. "What about it?" "They used my name to secure the mortgage." I said, my voice calm but firm. They forged my signature, stole my identity, and tied me to a $500,000 debt without my knowledge. My mom's face paled, her hand flying to her mouth. My dad's eyes widened, his jaw tightening. "That's ridiculous," he said, his voice rising. "They wouldn't do that." I leaned forward, my eyes locked on his. "I have the documents. I filed a report with the bank, put the property under investigation, and I'm prepared to take this to court if I have to." My mom's eyes filled with tears, her lower lip trembling. "Hannah, this can't be true. They're your family." "No," I said, my voice sharpening. "Family doesn't do this. Family doesn't steal your future, lie to your face, and expect you to just take it." My dad's face flushed, his hands balling into fists. "You're overreacting. You'll ruin this family if you keep pushing this." I straightened, my own anger finally bubbling to the surface. "No, Dad. They ruined this family the moment they decided I was expendable. The moment they chose their comfort over my future." Silence hung between us, thick and suffocating. My parents sat there, stunned, their world crumbling in slow motion as I stood up, crossing my arms over my chest. "I'll send you the documents," I said, my voice colder than I had ever heard it. "You can read them for yourself, but don't come to me expecting sympathy. I'm done playing the good, forgiving daughter." I walked them to the door, their faces still frozen in shock. As I closed it behind them, I felt a strange, twisted sense of relief. I had finally spoken my truth, stripped away the lies and the blind loyalty that had chained me to them for so long. For the first time in years, I felt free. The days after my confrontation with my parents felt like walking through the eye of a storm. Everything was eerily calm, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for the chaos to fully unfold. My phone remained silent. No desperate calls from my parents, no frantic messages from Lily or Derek. Just an unsettling quiet, like the deep, uneasy stillness before a thunderstorm. Then late one evening, my doorbell rang. I glanced at the clock, 8:47 p.m. My heart jumped into my throat as I approached the door, half expecting a full family ambush. But when I peeked through the peephole, it was just Lily. Her face-drawn eyes hollow, the glow of the hallway lights casting sharp shadows across her features. I opened the door, slowly leaning against the frame. "What do you want?" She took a shaky breath, her mascara-smudged hair uncharacteristically messy. "We need to talk." I stepped aside, letting her in, but kept my distance as she crossed into my living room. She looked around as if searching for some trace of the sister she once knew, the one she had taken for granted. "I'm not here to fight," she started, her voice a thin, brittle thread. I need you to understand why we did it." I crossed my arms, leaning against the wall, my expression blank. "Why you committed fraud in my name? Why you lied to my face for 3 years? Sure, I'd love to hear this." She flinched, her eyes darting to the framed photos on my bookshelf, the small, quiet tokens of my life she had never truly bothered to notice. "We didn't mean for it to go this far. Derek had just lost his job and we were struggling. The bank wouldn't approve the loan without a solid cosigner. We didn't have anyone else." I scoffed, the sound sharp and bitter. "So you just decided to use me, to tie me to a debt I never agreed to without even asking?" Tears welled in her eyes, her lower lip trembling. "We thought we could handle it. We thought we'd pay it off quickly and you'd never have to know. But things got complicated." I pushed off the wall, taking a step closer, my anger finally breaking through the numbness. "Complicated. You put my entire financial future at risk. You used my credit, my identity without a second thought, and now you want me to just understand." Her tears spilled over, streaking her pale cheeks. "I'm sorry, okay? We panicked. We didn't think it through. We were just trying to start a life, to build something for ourselves." I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. "And what about me, Lily? What about my life, my future? Did that not matter to you at all?" She looked down, her shoulders sagging. "Of course it did. You're my sister. I didn't know how to fix it once it started spiraling out of control." Silence hung between us, the weight of her betrayal settling like a stone in the pit of my stomach. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her, standing there, a broken shell of the confident, carefree girl I had once known. But then I remembered the late-night panic attacks, the sleepless nights, the sheer terror of thinking my life was spiraling into financial ruin without my control. That sympathy died quickly. "Leave," I said, my voice cold, final. "Whatever excuses you have, whatever sob story you've rehearsed, I don't care. You made your choices. Now you have to live with them." Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with desperation. "Hannah, please, we can work this out. We're family." I laughed, the sound harsh and bitter in the quiet room. "Family? You stopped being my family the moment you decided my life was a resource you could just exploit without permission." She took a step back, visibly recoiling from the steel in my voice. "So that's it, you're just cutting us off." I met her gaze, my own eyes cold, unflinching. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing." Her shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of her. She turned and walked to the door, pausing just before she stepped into the hallway. "I really am sorry, Hannah." I didn't respond. I just closed the door behind her, the soft click of the latch sounding like the final nail in the coffin of our relationship. I stood there for a long moment, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. But beneath the adrenaline and the lingering anger, I felt something new: relief. The next few days passed in a blur. The bank confirmed that the investigation was moving forward and the title dispute had put a hold on the property. Derek's credit was tanking, their mortgage payments frozen. They would lose the house within months if they didn't come up with the money. Mia came over that weekend, bringing a bottle of my favorite wine. We sat on my tiny balcony, the cool night air brushing against our faces, the city lights blinking like distant stars. "You did it," she said, raising her glass. "You actually did it." I clinked my glass against hers, a small satisfied smile creeping onto my lips. "Yeah, I did." As we sipped our wine, she leaned back, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. "So what's next? Revenge Part 2. I chuckled, the sound lighter than it had been in weeks. "No, I'm done with them. I've spent enough of my life cleaning up their messes. Now I'm just focused on me." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the hum of traffic below blending into the soft clink of our glasses. For the first time in years, I felt free. In the weeks that followed, I watched from a distance as my family unraveled. My parents stopped inviting me to dinners, their calls becoming less frequent, more strained. Lily's social media posts grew more frantic, her once proud house photos replaced by vague, desperate quotes about loyalty and family. But I felt no guilt, no regret, just a calm, quiet certainty that I had made the right choice. One evening, as I sat on my couch, a steaming cup of tea in hand, I scrolled through my old photos, memories of birthdays, family trips, holiday dinners. I hesitated for a moment, then slowly started deleting them one by one. When I was done, I leaned back, a deep, contented breath filling my lungs. I had cut the final thread, severed the last tie, and for the first time, I felt truly, beautifully free. Story 2. You ever have one of those slow-motion realizations that you've been the idiot in your own story? Like not just a little gullible, but full-on walking ATM with a smile. Yeah, that was me. Standing in front of a motel with a busted neon sign that said Royal Palms Inn, with no reservation, no vacancy, and absolutely no clue. And the kicker, I paid for this dump. And the luxury resort 5 blocks away, where my entire family was currently lounging in bathrobes sipping martinis. On my dime. It was supposed to be our annual family trip. I'm 34 now, but I've been bankrolling these bonding retreats since I was 29. My sister Mira had told me I needed a break. "You work so hard, Alex," she said, her voice all honey and concern. "Let us take care of the planning this time." What a joke. I should have known something was off when I landed and no driver showed. Mira texted saying there were hotel logistics and sent me a confirmation for a separate hotel, different from the one in the family group chat. But hey, I trusted her. Big mistake. The moment I walked into the so-called Royal Palms, I knew something was wrong. The front desk guy looked like he hadn't had a good day since 2006. "Reservation for Alex Reyes?" I asked. He blinked at his screen, then back at me, then smirked. "Yeah, this place doesn't even do online reservations anymore." I pulled up the email Mira sent me. It had the name, the address, even a reservation number. Fake. It had to be. The confirmation email had spelling mistakes. The logo looked like it was slapped together in Microsoft Paint. That slow-motion gut punch hit me, hard, and in that moment everything fell into place. I called Mira. She picked up on the first ring, all chirpy and bright like she hadn't just conned me. "Oh, did you check in?" "Yeah," I said, voice flat as ice. "Except the place doesn't exist. Want to try again?" Pause. Then, that's weird. Maybe they changed the name." "Cut the crap, Mira." I don't know what tone I used exactly, but it shut her up instantly. "You sent me to a fake hotel while you're all at the Astrid Bay Resort. On my card. Drinking my cocktails." More silence. Then, "Okay, look, don't overreact. We thought it might be better for you to have your own space. You've been tense lately." Tense. That's when it clicked. They didn't forget me, they excluded me. On purpose. I didn't yell, didn't scream. I just walked out of that sad excuse of a lobby and made my way 5 blocks down past palm trees and valet stations to the real hotel I had paid for. The Astrid Bay. And when I walked through those glass doors, I didn't hesitate. "Hi," I said to the front desk. "Can you call your manager? It started small, guilt trips dressed as love. You work too hard. You need a break. We never spend time together anymore." Back then I bought it, hook, line, and emotional bait. The first trip I paid for was after Dad's back surgery. Mom said he needed a change of scenery. Mira was in between jobs. My little brother Noah had just dropped out of community college and was figuring things out. Guess who had a bonus coming in? Yup, me. So I booked a beach house in South Carolina. Paid for everything, flights, food, even the board games Mira said would bring us closer. They barely said thank you. Instead, I became the errand boy. "Can you cover dinner? I forgot my card." "Let's book the boat tour. You've got that big job now, right?" At the time, I told myself it was love, that their joy was enough. Spoiler, it wasn't. The next year, it was a cabin in Colorado, then an island rental in Turks and Caicos. I funded 5 full-blown family trips in 5 years, and every single time it got a little worse. Noah always brought a +1 who didn't pay a dime. Mira started requesting add-ons, massages, excursions, extra nights. Dad never said anything, just nodded when the email confirmations rolled in. Mom cried once when I said we should downsize the next trip, said it was the only thing keeping the family together. I believed her, stupidly, but it wasn't just about the money. It was about how invisible I became. Every vacation they made plans without me. "Didn't you see the text?" Mira would say. Except there was no text. "Thought you were napping," Noah would mumble. While they took sunset photos without me, posted group selfies captioned "family first" while I ate leftover tacos in my room. I felt like the driver, the sponsor, the background character in my own family's reel, and I still kept showing up. Until now. The final straw wasn't even the fake hotel. It was the realization that they didn't even bother to pretend anymore. They knew I'd show up, pay up, shut up. This time they didn't want to include me at all, just wanted my card, not my presence. Well, that ended today. When the manager arrived, I didn't go full Karen. I just pulled out my phone and laid it all out. Every receipt, every booking, the credit card statements, the email Mira sent with the fake confirmation. The concierge's face went pale. Then he made a few calls. Security appeared, quiet, professional, and I sat in the plush lobby with cucumber water while they handled it. Because this time, I wasn't going to be the nice guy, just waited. The manager, Mr. Delaney, handled it like he'd done this before. Polite, calm, discreetly annoyed. Once he confirmed the entire booking was made using my card, but under Mira's name, he looked at me with the kind of expression people reserve for clients they want to impress and criminals they want gone. "Would you prefer we resolve this privately, Mr. Reyes?" he asked. I smiled. "No, make it public." He nodded once and walked away. I positioned myself at the bar in the lobby right under a giant chandelier. They brought me a drink. On the house. Meanwhile, upstairs on the rooftop, my family was living it up. Mira and her influencer boyfriend lounging in a cabana. Noah and his girlfriend filming TikToks near the infinity pool. My parents probably sipping wine like royalty. They didn't know I was here yet, but they were about to. 10 minutes later, I saw security move. Calm, coordinated, like sharks in suits. The rooftop was glass-walled. You could see everything from the mezzanine. I watched as 2 guards approached Mira. She laughed at something on her phone and barely looked up. "Excuse me, ma'am, can we speak with you about your reservation?" She squinted, confused. "Now?" "Yes, now." I couldn't hear what followed, but I saw the moment panic set in. Her brows twitched. Her mouth opened. Then she looked around, probably for Mom or Dad. Then she saw me, sitting below, watching, holding my drink like it was a victory trophy. She froze, then scowled. Mira came down first, flanked by the guards. "What the hell, Alex?" She hissed, cheeks flaming red. "You couldn't just talk to us like a normal person." I didn't even stand. "You booked me into a fake hotel, used my money, lied to my face. You want a calm conversation?" Her eyes flicked toward the manager approaching behind me. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she snapped. Mr. Delaney interjected. "Ma'am, we've confirmed that this entire group booking was made under your name using a credit card that does not belong to you." "It's my brother's," she shot back. "He gave it to me." "Did he authorize you to book a $14,000 vacation and leave him at a non-operational motel?" She didn't answer. My mom came next, hair wrapped in a spa towel, face dripping concern. "Alex, honey, what's going on?" "What's going on?" I said, standing finally. "Is that you forgot I exist except when it's time to pay for things." She blinked. "That's not fair. We thought you wanted space." "Yeah, enough space to rot in a fake hotel with roaches and no running water." Noah walked in last, dragging a speaker and looking like he'd just stepped off a yacht. What's the drama now? Mira turned on him. He's trying to get us kicked out. I corrected her. You got yourselves kicked out. I just gave the hotel the receipts. Mr. Delaney stepped in again, polite but firm. We do not tolerate fraudulent bookings or financial manipulation. Your group will need to vacate the premises immediately. My dad finally appeared silent as usual and glared at me like I was the problem. You're really doing this to your own family? He asked. I met his eyes without flinching. No, I'm just ending what you've been doing to me for years. My mother's voice broke. We didn't mean to hurt you. I almost believed her, almost. But then Mira turned to me, venom back in her voice. You've always acted like the victim. Maybe if you weren't so uptight, we'd actually want you around. And maybe I said if you treated me like family instead of a walking Amex, I wouldn't have to embarrass you like this. They were escorted out 20 minutes later. Their bags packed, spa treatments canceled, cabanas reassigned. The lobby staff didn't even pretend to feel bad. And I was offered a full upgrade. A suite with ocean views and daily room service. All complimentary. Consider it an apology, Mr. Delaney said, handing me a new keycard. I took it with a small nod. Thanks. One more thing, can you block anyone from contacting my room? He smiled. Already done. That night I sat on the balcony of my upgraded suite. A fresh glass of whiskey in hand, sunset glowing gold over the waves. And for the first time in years I felt still. No noise, no guilt, no fake smiles or backhanded compliments. Just silence. It was beautiful. Mira tried texting me that night. Mira, you made your point. Now stop being dramatic. Mira, mom's crying. Are you proud of that? Mira, grow up. Families fight. I didn't respond. Instead, I posted a picture to the family group chat. Me, rooftop pool, drink in hand, caption vacations just getting started. And then I hit block. On all of them. 3 days passed. Spa, room service, daily swims. I even took the private snorkeling tour I'd originally booked for them. I didn't feel guilty. Not even when Noah emailed asking for help with refund negotiations. Not even when mom sent a voicemail with sobs and guilt-laced pleas. Not even when dad texted, this isn't what family does. Because you know what? Family doesn't lie, doesn't steal, doesn't exile you 5 blocks away while spending your money. That's not family. That's extortion with a hug. I checked out 2 days later. Well-rested, clean conscience. And before I flew home, I made one last move. I logged into our shared emergency savings account, the one I'd kept open for them. Quietly funding Bill's emergencies and Mira's occasional oops moments. I transferred every cent into my private account, closed the joint card, canceled the auto payments. Then I locked the account, like locking the door to a house I no longer lived in. When I landed back home, my phone exploded. 28 missed calls, 9 voicemails, 12 texts from blocked numbers, all from my family, or as I had officially decided to call them, the entitled 4. But I ignored them. No more explanations, no more playing referee in a rigged game. I made myself a coffee, opened the windows, and finally enjoyed the sound of nothing. But just when I thought it was over, something unexpected happened. A text. From a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. Hi, I know this is probably strange, but I think we're related. My name is Olivia. I believe you're my uncle. I stared at the screen. What? Mira doesn't have kids. At least, I didn't think she did. She always said motherhood wasn't for her. Why ruin a good body for stretch marks and sleep deprivation? That was her favorite line. So I replied, me, you must have the wrong person. Mira doesn't have children. Olivia. She did. I'm 19. She gave me up for adoption when she was 19 too. And just like that, the floor shifted. I sat on my kitchen stool holding the phone like it might start burning. My brain kept cycling through memories of that year when Mira studied abroad for a semester. She told everyone she was in Italy. But now that I thought about it, no photos, no postcards, no stories. Just one blurry picture of her holding a baguette in front of a beige wall that could have been anywhere. I called my aunt, our mom's sister. She hesitated, then said, you weren't supposed to know. Your mother made us promise. That was confirmation enough. So I met Olivia at a coffee shop downtown. She looked like Mira. Same eyes, same jawline, but her smile was different, warmer, gentler. I'm not here for money, she said quickly, hands around her coffee cup. I don't want anything from you. I wanted to know where I came from. I nodded, still reeling. Does Mira know you found me? I asked. She will soon, Olivia said with a dry laugh. But I didn't want to start with her. I wanted to start with someone who might be honest. I told her everything. About the fake hotel, the betrayal, the vacations, the years of manipulation. She didn't defend Mira, she just sat there and listened. When I finished, she looked at me and said, "You deserved better. I'm sorry you didn't get it." And I, who hadn't cried through the whole ordeal, almost did right then. Before we parted, Olivia handed me a small box. "My adoptive dad passed away recently," she explained. "He was a lawyer. This was in his safe. He said it was for me when I was ready." Inside were documents, legal ones, and a letter from my grandmother, the one who passed 5 years ago, the one Mira used to visit obsessively, the one who sent me birthday cards when nobody else remembered. The handwriting was familiar, delicate cursive, slightly shaky. It read, "If you're reading this, it means Mira's lies have gone far enough. Everything I owned, my land, my inheritance, the trust I left for Alex. Because he never asked, he only gave. He was the one who stayed kind. Tell him not to let them erase him." I couldn't breathe. While I was paying for massages and minibar upgrades, Mira had been hiding a will. My inheritance. My hands shook as I flipped through the documents. There were bank statements, trust fund paperwork, even a note from the family lawyer marked confidential for Alex only. I looked at Olivia. "Why are you giving this to me?" I asked. She smiled. "Because it's yours." The next day, I made an appointment with Callahan and Moore, the law firm listed in the letter. Turns out Mr. Callahan was still around, old, sharp-eyed, and very aware of the Reyes family drama. "She told us you'd vanished," he said, sliding over a manila folder. "Said you declined the estate due to mental health issues. She even filed an affidavit." My mouth went dry. "She what?" He nodded grimly. "She forged your signature and managed to redirect everything except the trust. That stayed frozen. We've been waiting for someone to unlock it. Now we had the key. Olivia and Grandma." The next 48 hours were a blur. We filed a fraud report, reopened the trust, unsealed the will, and then I sued. Mira, my parents, even Noah, because they all knew. They might not have signed the paperwork, but they spent the money. They cashed the checks. They took the trips. Every dollar I'd ever gifted to them recalculated. The total? $192,000. And that wasn't even counting damages. Mira tried to stop it, texted me, called me, even showed up at my apartment building once. "You're destroying your own family," she yelled at the front desk when they wouldn't let her up. No, I wasn't destroying anything. I was cleaning up the wreckage they'd built. My lawyer sent out the notices. Fraud, forgery, financial abuse. Their accounts were frozen within days. Mira lost her condo. Noah's car got repossessed. Mom and Dad had to refinance the house. And the best part? They couldn't even complain publicly because I had receipts. Literal receipts. Screenshots, emails, voice messages, bank transfers, the fake hotel confirmation with Mira's IP address logged. Oh, and the cherry on top. A copy of Grandma's will signed, notarized, sealed. They had nothing. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I felt clean, like I'd taken off a heavy coat I didn't realize I'd been wearing for years. I moved the trust into a secure investment account, bought myself a modest but beautiful lake cabin. No Wi-Fi, just peace. Olivia visits sometimes. We sit by the water, watch the ducks, talk about what family should mean. And she always says the same thing when she leaves. "Thanks for giving me a chance to know who I came from." It still blows my mind that the person who reminded me who I was someone my own family tried to erase. But the truth has a funny way of surviving, even when they bury it deep. Story 3. They say the worst betrayals come from family. But nothing prepares you for the moment your own blood smirks while your bank account bleeds dry. It started after a baby shower. Not mine, my cousin Tiffany's, the one she guilted me into helping plan. I was exhausted, mascara smudged and sore from smiling through 2 hours of pastel chaos and fake awes. I flopped onto the nearest armchair, pulled out my phone to check the time, and froze. A notification blinked at the top of the screen. My banking app. $35,000 transaction processed. I stared at it, blinking like it might vanish if I didn't move. I reopened the app. Same amount. Gone. No typo, no glitch, no mercy. "Tiff," I said, barely above a whisper. She looked up from her throne of throw pillows, swirling her mocktail like royalty. "Yeah." I turned the phone around, hands shaking. "Did you do something with my account?" Her eyes flicked to the screen. The corner of her lip curled up, not in shock, in smugness. "Oh, that," she said like I'd asked about borrowed socks. "It's just a little gift, from you to me." I couldn't breathe. My mouth opened, but no words came out. I felt heat rising in my chest. Rage, humiliation, disbelief until all I could manage was, "What?" She leaned in, resting her chin on her manicured hand. "Come on, Mel. You always say money doesn't matter. You're single, no kids, stable job. Meanwhile, I'm about to pop my fiance's freelancing and you left your phone charging in the kitchen last night. Rookie move." My fingers tightened around the armrest. "You saw my pin." "Digits were cute," she said, sipping from her glass. "Very obvious. I figured it out while you were half asleep on my couch mumbling about work emails." People were still laughing in the background, passing around cake, complimenting diaper cakes and balloon arches. No one knew a heist had just taken place. "You're joking," I said, though I knew she wasn't. She looked me dead in the eye. "It's already spent. So, unless you want to cry in front of Grandma's friends, I'd sit back down and act grateful." Grateful. That snapped something in me. I stood, slowly, carefully. My bag was by the couch. I reached for it. Tiffany's gaze narrowed. "What are you doing?" "Perfect," I said quietly. "Now watch what happens next." And just like a scene from a movie, the front door creaked open. Her fiancé Ryan stepped in looking confused and flushed. He held an envelope in one hand and a crumpled receipt in the other. "Hey, Tiff, why does this PayPal receipt say you got $35K from Mel? Something about baby gift refund scam?" Her face went white. "What, Ryan, give me that?" "No," he said, stepping back. "What the hell is going on?" The room quieted. Someone dropped a cupcake. The Spotify playlist buzzed awkwardly in the background. I stepped forward, raising my voice just enough. "She stole from me." "No, I didn't," Tiffany snapped. "It's not stealing if we're family. It's not like she's struggling." "You transferred the money without my consent," I said, holding up my phone like a weapon. "That's theft." "You always make a scene," she hissed, shooting daggers at me. "This is just like Christmas when you cried over that blender." "That was my inheritance check. You used to buy it," I snapped. Ryan blinked. "Wait, what?" I pulled out a folder from my bag. "Oh yes, I came prepared. Let's talk receipts, shall we?" I said, flipping through papers like a deranged librarian. $1 and $200 for your dental emergency, which by the way was veneers. $850 for the rent you couldn't cover because your boss was toxic. Turns out you quit to become an influencer. And don't forget the $400 for this very shower. You said you'd pay me back once the registry filled up. Guess what, Tiff? You had me blocked the day after I wired the deposit." Tiffany was trembling now, eyes darting around the room, searching for someone, anyone to jump to her defense. Crickets. Even Aunt Nadine was staring at her like she'd grown horns. Ryan rubbed his jaw. "You told me your job laid you off." "Because I wanted to surprise you," she cried, voice breaking. "Surprise me with stolen money," he said. At that, someone finally spoke. Grandma from the couch. "You stole from your cousin." "I was going to pay her back," Tiffany shouted. "She never said no." "That's because I never knew you were asking," I said. "You don't ask. You take. You always have." Tiffany glared at me. "You think you're better than me? Just because you live alone in your little apartment and post quotes about boundaries like some therapist? I don't think I'm better," I said, stepping forward. "I know I'm not stupid enough to throw a baby shower funded by theft." "Then why are you here?" she sneered. "You didn't even want to come." I looked her dead in the eye. "Because you begged me to come," I said. "Because you sent a note that said, it would mean the world if you could just be selfless this once." She opened her mouth, and I cut her off. "Oh, and don't bother acting shocked. I kept the note. Just like I kept everything else." I dropped the folder on the coffee table. It landed with a satisfying thud. "Mel." Ryan's voice was quiet now. "Did she ever give back any of the money?" I didn't even blink. "Never." Tiffany exploded. "Are you serious? You're siding with her? She's bitter. She's broke. She's honest," he said, "which is more than I can say for you." That's when the second bomb hit. "I knew it," I said. I knew something didn't add up. And now that I've checked my credit report this morning, I turned my screen toward the guests. She opened a credit card in my name. Gasps again. Tiffany froze. What Ryan asked. She used my information. Yesterday, I got the alert on my way here. Ryan took a step away from her. Tiffany's voice cracked. "You don't understand. We needed it for the nursery." "We?" I asked. "Or just you?" She tried to speak. No words came. And in that silence, everyone saw the truth. Laid bare. Undeniable. The silence after my accusation was suffocating. Tiffany wasn't blinking. Ryan looked like someone had knocked the wind out of him. The rest of the guests were frozen mid-sip, mid-bite, mid-gossip. Then Aunt Cheryl, Tiffany's mom, tried to laugh it off. "Let's all just breathe, okay? This is just a misunderstanding." I turned to her. "A misunderstanding? Cheryl, your daughter committed financial fraud with my information. She stole from me. You want me to breathe? Tiffany snapped. I didn't steal. Opening a credit card under my name without my consent is theft, I said slowly so even the folks in the back could hear. And you know what else? I got the email confirming the card was approved. Co-signed by someone named Margaret H. It was like the words sucked all the oxygen from the room. My heart hammered in my chest. Margaret H. My mom. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. But the email didn't lie. Tiffany smirked. Oh, so you finally figured it out. I stepped back. What? She stood taller now, lips curled like this was some inside joke she was about to drop for laughs. You thought it was just me, she said, her voice sharp. Girl, check your own house. You think all this happened without help? I couldn't speak. Oh, you still don't know, huh? She added, laughing bitterly. Ask your mother about Grandpa's will. Ask her about your college fund. About what really paid for those fancy kitchen renovations. My stomach dropped. The baby shower was still technically happening. A few people tried to pretend it wasn't. Others were already packing up their purses and heading toward the door like it was a crime scene and they weren't about to be witnesses. I didn't say another word. I just turned, grabbed my bag, and walked out. I didn't go home. I didn't stop for gas or food or even to cry in my car like a normal person might. I drove straight to my parents' house like my brain had autopiloted into confrontation mode. My hands were shaking the whole way there. Not from anger, from realization, from betrayal that had suddenly grown roots deeper than I ever imagined. When I arrived, my mom was sitting at the kitchen table flipping through a magazine like she was auditioning for a scene called Nothing to See Here. Hi, sweetheart, she said, not even looking up. How was the baby shower? I dropped my purse on the floor, loud. She flinched. Where's Dad? I asked. She blinked at me. Garage. Why? You opened a credit card in my name. Her face didn't change right away. That was worse than if she'd denied it. Oh, that? She said finally, like I was asking about expired yogurt. It was temporary. No, Mom. I said, barely able to keep my voice steady. It was criminal. She put the magazine down, slowly. We needed help, she said. Your father's heart meds the taxes, Tiffany's situation. So you thought you could just use me. You were doing fine, she snapped, finally showing emotion. You had savings, a stable job, no kids, no mortgage. You're always acting like the martyr. It's just money. No, I said coldly. It's my money, my credit, my life. Footsteps behind me. Dad walked in. What's going on? I turned. You knew, didn't you? He hesitated just long enough to confirm everything. You both knew. We were trying to keep the family afloat, he said, rubbing his temples. With my inheritance, I asked. The one Grandpa left me. Mom sighed. That was never just yours. It was for the family. You told me Grandpa didn't leave anything. He didn't leave it directly, she mumbled. It was a joint decision to use it on the house. For your granite countertops and that damn smart fridge. Dad stepped in. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I snapped. Because it looks a lot like you've been draining me for years, and I never saw it coming. Mom's voice dropped low. Don't be dramatic, you're overreacting. There it was. The gaslight. I stared at them, these people who were supposed to protect me, raise me, respect me, and I saw them clearly for the first time. They weren't family. They were just really good at borrowing. You raised me to believe that being generous meant being good, I said quietly, but all I ever did was get taken advantage of. My phone buzzed, another notification. New account opened. Line of credit, co-signer Margaret H. Second card. Same bank. I held up the screen. You did it again just yesterday. I thought you wouldn't notice, she whispered. Well, I did. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I walked over to the drawer, pulled out the binder with all the paperwork I'd been collecting. The weird transfers, the account changes, the passwords that somehow stopped working. I dropped it on the table. You have one chance, I said. One. You pay it back. Or I press charges. For fraud. Identity theft, everything. Dad stepped forward. Don't be like this. Like what I asked. Someone with boundaries. The front door creaked. Someone else walked in. Tiffany's fiancé. Sorry to interrupt, he said, but I thought you should see this. He held out a phone. Tiffany's messages with your mom. She wasn't just using you. She was planning it. He tapped the screen. She called it a long con. Said you were too soft, that you'd never say no. My mother's jaw clenched, but she didn't deny it. You were in on it, I said. And in that moment, something in me snapped, but not in the way they expected. I didn't rage. I just stopped caring. I picked up my folder, shoved it back into my bag, and looked them both in the eyes. You'll get a call from my lawyer. The moment I walked out of my parents' house, everything shifted. No more doubt, no more guilt, just a quiet, blazing clarity. They'd spent years bleeding me dry, hiding behind the word family, but I was done patching wounds they kept reopening. So I drove home. I poured myself a glass of wine, not to numb anything but to toast the last time I'd ever let them rob me. Then I opened my laptop and called a lawyer. Her name was April. She didn't blink when I said the words identity theft and credit fraud. Didn't flinch when I described how my own mother co-signed 2 credit lines under my name while my cousins siphoned off my savings with my stolen PIN. She just nodded and said, "We can build a case, and we're going to make it loud." And that's exactly what we did. We started by filing civil claims, one against Tiffany for unauthorized access to my bank account and one against my mom for opening fraudulent lines of credit. Then we subpoenaed records. April was relentless. Within 48 hours, we had Tiffany's PayPal logs, Venmo history, bank statements, and wow, she had not been subtle. A $3 $800 charge for a Chanel purse, a $1 $200 deposit on a Tesla lease, $600 for a VIP mommy club that apparently included prenatal massages and crystal sound baths. Oh, and the kicker, a $20,000 wire transfer to a crypto account in Panama. She wasn't panicking, she was planning an escape. April looked at me across the table and said, "You ready to go nuclear?" I didn't hesitate. Light the fuse. Tiffany got served first. Her reaction predictably dramatic. First, she tried to play it cool, left me voicemails full of fake laughter. "Come on, Mel. This is overblown. I thought we were past all this petty money stuff." Then the crying started. "I'm pregnant, for God's sake. I need support. You're ruining my life." I ignored her. My lawyer didn't. We filed for emotional damages, full restitution, and a formal investigation into the credit fraud involving my mother. That's when my inbox blew up. Aunt Cheryl messaged me. "Melanie, honey, can we talk privately? This is tearing the family apart." I blocked her. Uncle Jeff tried too. "Your mom didn't mean harm." Blocked. Even Tiffany's best friend DM'd me. "You know she's not evil, right? She's just impulsive." She also forwarded me a screenshot Tiffany had accidentally posted to her private story. A photo of her lounging in a spa robe captioned, "Stress what stress, credit card baby." I sent it to April. She added it to the file. Meanwhile, my mom was trying denial. She called 3 times, then emailed, then wrote a letter. An actual handwritten letter. In it, she said, "We were in a tough place. I thought you'd understand. We just needed a little help getting through the month. Your father didn't know the full extent. It wasn't malicious. But you know what was malicious? Finding out she tried to open a 3rd card the day after I confronted her. Same bank. Denied because the fraud alert was already on file. I added that to the lawsuit. A week later, she caved. She wired back $8,000, enough to cover the credit lines and one emotional gesture. She even added a note. "Let this be the end. We're family." But it wasn't the end. Not for Tiffany. Because when she got her copy of the subpoena, she had a meltdown so loud I heard about it through a cousin who hadn't texted me since 2014. She tried to blame my mom. Then she blamed her fiancé Ryan. Then she blamed me, claimed my coldness pushed her into desperate acts. April called it emotional manipulation 101. I called it pathetic. Still, it got worse. Because Ryan, he dumped her. Told her he'd seen all the texts she sent to my mother. How she said I was soft, stupid, generous, and basically a bank in jeans. How she never planned to pay me back. How she lied to him too. About the money. The job she lost. Even the baby. "It's not mine," he told me flat. She told me the timing lined up. I wanted to believe her, but I checked the due date, I did the math. He left her that night. Moved out. Took back his ring. And then, he called me. Said he was sorry for not seeing it sooner. For watching it all happen and doing nothing. For being part of her curated fairy tale. He didn't ask me for anything. Just said, "Thank you for blowing it all up." I was never brave enough. I didn't forgive him right away. But I didn't hate him either. Because now finally, I was starting to feel something I hadn't felt in years. Safe. Tiffany, meanwhile, went quiet online. Deleted her Instagram. Stopped posting bump photos and Target nursery hauls. Word got out fast. Our extended family, always quick to rally for baby showers and potlucks, started distancing themselves. Nobody wanted to pick sides, but everyone knew who'd wired $35K to a scammy PayPal and who'd caught the receipts. Her name faded from the group chats. Her baby registry went offline. The invitations to her mommy and me yoga group gone. I guess it's hard to downward dog with a pending lawsuit. As for my parents, they paid off the debt, all of it, And I gave them one condition: never ask me for money again. They agreed, and I haven't spoken to them since. Not out of hate, out of self-respect, out of peace. Because here's the truth. No one tells you about revenge. It's not about getting even. It's about drawing a line so boldly they can never cross it again.